Hi, this is Dave in the IQ Center with a tutorial on how to track particles in a video and to export the X and Y coordinates of those points. This will be useful for the geology glacier experiment. We're going to do this not in Premiere but in a program called After Effects. So the first thing you want to do is launch Adobe After Effects. Go to All Programs, and it might be under Adobe Creative Cloud, but launch Adobe After Effects CC. Once you're in Adobe After Effects, it's going to ask you to create a new composition. But we're just going to close this welcome screen because I'm going to have it decide these numbers for us. So just close the welcome screen, and then we're going to import the image sequence just the way we did in Premiere, but it's going to be a little bit different. So we're going to go into this project pane on the left-hand side in After Effects, and I'm going to right-click and choose Import File. And what we're going to do is go to find one of the files in your image sequence, the very first file, and make sure you select this little checkbox here, JPEG sequence, and click Import. And this does the same sort of thing as it did in Premiere. It brings the image sequence in, and like Premiere, we can't view it directly. We have to put it into a, in After Effects, it's called a composition. So we've got our project, we've got our image sequence up here. We're going to drag it down into this area below, and this is called creating a composition. Okay, now you'll see your video show up in the screen. Now, at first it's going to be very clunky and it won't play quite right. We're not actually going to be playing the video in here. We're going to be tracking the particles from within After Effects. So the way we do this is there's a tab on the lower right that's called Tracker. And in this Tracker tab, Track Motion. Okay, so we're going to click the button called Track Motion. And what that does is it adds a little tiny point that you can barely see to the middle of the video, and it's a track point. So if I zoom way in on this, you'll see this little crosshair. And what I want to do is drag that crosshair onto a particle that I want to track. So I'm going to just click it and drag, and it's going, and the video will follow along with me. So if I want to say track this particle, I can drag this box over it, and you can see there's a highlighted version of what's underneath. Okay, so I'm going to move this box right over this red bead, and I'm going to put the crosshair right on this highlight on the bead, and I'm going to let go. Now we've got a couple of boxes around that particle, and that's the bounding box for what we want to track. So you may need to make that a little bit larger or a little bit smaller, but have it encompass your the particle that you're trying to track. Okay, so in this case we're going to track this red particle, and so we've got a track point down. The next step is to analyze the footage. So we can zoom out. I'm zooming out in and out here with the scroll wheel on the mouse. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see more of my composition. And I'm going to, in the lower right hand corner, there's this Analyze bar. And I'm going to select the Analyze Forward button. It's the button that points to the right. As long as I'm on the first frame of my video, I can click Analyze Forward. And what it does is it starts tracking that point. And you can see these are big files, so it's taking a while. But it's going frame by frame, and it's tracking that particle. So we'll just wait for it to finish. This could take several minutes. Okay, that finished. It took about 6 or 7 minutes on my computer. And what you're left with, you'll see a track that got left behind. So if I go through the timeline, I'll see a tracking position that is following that bead. It's a little bit laggy, but basically, if I zoom way in on this, you'll see that there are a bunch of little boxes, and each box corresponds to the X and Y location of that bead as it was tracked. So, and if I click on one of them, if I open up the source name, you'll see that there is a motion tracker and a transformator here. If I open up motion tracker and tracker 1, I'll see a whole bunch of track points. And if I zoom in on this timeline by hitting the plus key, you'll see that each frame has a little diamond, and that diamond has the position of the bead in X and Y. So the trick is now to get this out of here. And there is an easy way to do this. If I zoom back out on my timeline by hitting the minus key, I can drag a box that goes all the way around all those little diamonds. And that's copying all of the X and Y positions for the entire track. And then I just right click. Actually, I go up to edit, copy. Now I can go over to Microsoft Excel and do Control V to paste, and there it is. I've got the number of pixels in X and Y for every frame of the video. Okay, from here you can do all sorts of things. You can graph position over time. I'm going to show you quickly how to calculate velocity from this data. Now, the first thing we need to do to calculate velocity is to find out how many pixels it takes to make up a centimeter, or some scale. So we're going to go over to Photoshop. In Photoshop, there's a measure tool that will allow us to grab a real-world dimension and convert it into pixels. So it's called the measure tool. Sometimes it's hiding under this eyedropper. If you fly out the eyedropper, you can find the ruler tool. And the ruler tool, you just select it and then you click on a start point and drag out to an end point. Now here I'm dragging out a line that is exactly 10 centimeters long. And when I let my mouse go, up in the upper left-hand corner, it will show me how many pixels that was. So the width is 550 pixels. So we're going to use 550 pixels as our measure. 550 pixels equals 10 centimeters. So 1 centimeter equals 55 pixels. So with that information, we'll go back to Excel, and we can convert these pixel dimensions to centimeter dimensions. So we'll go type in equals this number divided by 55. Okay, now that's our pixel dimensions, our centimeter dimensions. If I pull that across, we've got X and Y in centimeters. And so we can grab these two numbers and copy them down all the way to the bottom. Go back up to the top. And we also need to have actual seconds. Right now, this is frame numbers. So I know that this is time 0 and this is time it's 30 seconds, so it's 0.5 minutes. So we're going to put this in minutes. So we're going to select these top two and fill a series down, and that'll give us time in minutes. Now we've got 0.5 minutes, 1 minute. To calculate the velocity, we're going to need to know the distance in x and the distance in y. You could just do this in x if your particle moves strictly along the x dimension. But in reality, most of these particles are not. The tracks are moving at an angle, or they might move over time. So it depends on how straight your particles are going. But to do the actual measurement, we're going to do this. We're going to to find the distance between 2 points, we need to find the difference in x, the square root of the difference in x plus the difference in y. So in this cell here, we type in equals SQRT, and then x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus, actually I need a parenthesis, y2 minus y1 squared. Now that gives us the distance traveled, but to get the velocity, we need to have this divided by the whole entire quantity over the time, which is 0.5 seconds. So we divide that by 0.5, and this gives us our velocity in centimeters per second. I don't know if that's a reasonable unit, but so that's our velocity. Grab this handle and we can fill this quantity down to the bottom, go back up to the top, and that is our velocity. Now we can take that number and we can create insert a line graph, and there is a graph of velocity over time. And you can see that it does decrease over time. There are some random high points in there. That could be from when the whole apparatus got bumped, or when the tracking just lost track of a point for a pixel. So, but that's a pretty good graph. So that's how to track particle position over time using Adobe After Effects, and how to get that number out into Excel.